My first job, I sold knives for Cutco, and I used to go from my parents to my friends' parents to my friends and just try to sell knives. And I had my little knife kit, and I was not very good at it.
My first job was at our local pizza house, Angelina's Pizza in Akron. And it is locally owned by a guy named Dominic DeLullo, still is. And Dominic taught me the lesson of less is more, at least in terms of pepperoni.
So my first job was really on a family farm. And I did get paid for it, and it was horse, and we also grew soybean and things like that. So that was really my first job probably, and then I started a little business when I was 16, detailing cars and doing audio systems.
It was at the Tasty Freeze in Pittsburgh, actually. We called it Le Foie, which was our little sad attempt at French, but it was a great job. It was working with friends and having friends come every day. It was a standalone little shop on a main road there in Pittsburgh, and it was a blast. It was fun.
My first job was as a summer camp counselor while I was in high school in New Orleans. As the newest camp counselor, I didn't have the option to choose which group of kids I would have, and so I ended up with a group of 4- and 5-year-old children. So trying to keep 20 to 30 preschoolers to a strict schedule taught me a lot about the need to plan and be organized, but more importantly, how to think on my feet and be flexible.
My first real job was probably on my uncle's paving crew in high school. I worked incredibly long hours, got paid virtually nothing, never ate lunch, and worked all day with concrete, asphalt, and bricks in the hot, scorching sun. So it was an incredible learning experience.
My first job, I was the guy who pulled weeds and carried around 60-pound bags of dirt for a landscaping crew. I was 15 years old. A lot of the guys I worked with were in their 30s and 40s. Many of them were ex-cons, but it was they were really nice to me, and which I appreciated because it didn't have to be.
My first job was very exciting. It was at Geppetto's Pizza and Ribs. I was in high school, and it was my first opportunity to earn a paycheck, and I was the master at cooking pizza and grilling those ribs.
A buddy of mine, and we set off and said we're going to conquer the world by painting houses. And so, which is definitely, I appreciate my more office space and professional job after working 12 and 18-hour days in the 100-degree heat back in Kansas.
I washed dishes at a pizza shop and then transitioned to a fish restaurant. So my fingers smelled like fish most of my young life.
I actually worked in a chicken restaurant. So 16 years old, making fried chicken, cleaning dishes, bussing tables. It was actually a lot of fun. I did it for a year, but it kind of taught me a lot of things, so I'm glad I did it.
My first job was cleaning out golf carts at Sweetbriar golf course near my house growing up. Lugging kegs around for all the outings, so it was good preparation for the brewery business.
My first job was working at my family's construction company, predominantly sweeping floors and hiding from the bosses, looking for nothing to do.
I worked at a kiosk at Beechwood Mall where they sold successories, and they were those framed posters with success messages. And I am laughing now thinking that's what my very first job was.
I think my first paycheck that I ever received was working for the Parks Department for the city of Westlake, the suburb I grew up in. So that was a lot of landscaping, working on baseball diamonds, but I think the one that I remember the most, we spent a summer building the Bradley Nature Park.
My first real job, I was a gas station attendant at Sunoco in Euclid. I was probably the worst gas attendant they ever had.
My first job was at McDonald's. It was the only place to hire me. I put in many applications and only McDonald's hired me, and started literally flipping burgers.